So what I'm going to talk about is basically the actions that I think that we need to take to save our planet from a rather uncertain future if we carry on doing what we're doing right now. I'm a scientist. I have a PhD. Okay, so this is my picture here, and this is the 3 imperatives that we need to do if we're going to preserve this planet for our children and our grandchildren. And they're pretty much in order of how we need to do it. The first one is we need to decarbonize the world's energy and transport system. We cannot avoid doing that. Any of these other things that come underneath it are totally useless if we do not stop using carbon in our daily lives. And I say we've got to do it in 30 years, and that's what I think is probably a reasonable drag time. As I say, if we make the decision now, 30 years, we could probably get ourselves weaned off of carbon. And we're going to be having to use technology to do it and science to do it, which is why I'm trying to come at this from a scientific rather than an emotional point of view. But that is the most important thing that we have to do. And I'm just going to do a couple of ways that we could do that. We could continue using carbon-based fuels, but we would have to capture and sequester the carbon as it was coming out of the power plants. Technology which is possible, but is very expensive, and it would put the cost of energy up considerably if we're going to do that. And basically all of these options that I'm telling you are going to mean more expensive energy, in my mind. Just because the reason we're doing what we're doing right now is because it's cheap. And if we try to clean it up, it's going to be more expensive to do that. So you're looking at a price rise for energy, whichever way we play this. So we could use carbon-based fuels, but then sequester the carbon dioxide. And there are various ways of doing that we'll talk about. Must use sun and wind. I mean, they're natural resources, and wave power and tidal power. They are natural resources that are available to us. All of them have problems. There are plus sides and downsides. The problem with sun and wind is that it doesn't shine and it doesn't blow all the time. So you need a storage mechanism if you're going to use those power solutions. And unfortunately, battery technology is not there yet. Hopefully, we will get there. But at the moment, batteries are not good enough to be able to replace our large baseline power suppliers, which is essentially coal and nuclear and gas, natural gas now. If we're going to replace those with non-carbon-based, with renewables like sun and wind, we need much better battery systems than what we have now. And then, being a geologist, the one I have to sell you is geothermal energy, which is an excellent way of making power. Again, it has its environmental issues that you're going to have to deal with, and it has its complications. And the main expense is in the drilling the holes to actually tap the hot rocks. But the whole world is underlain by hot rocks. The centre of the Earth is a solid core, and then there's about a molten core around the outside of it. We've got plenty of hot rocks, so we could potentially use hot rocks to create certainly our baseline power quite easily. And I could send you to one of the Stanford energy seminars talking about geothermal energy, and it's really quite an eye-opener, and it's a subject that I'm probably going to do some more work on in the near future. So anyway, that is actually, so decarbonising the world is actually the most important thing that we need to do. And now I'm going to talk to you, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Then now I'm going to talk to you about the other 2. Okay? So the other 2 are carbon dioxide removal, and we have to do research and implementation. We can do both of those right now. There are some methods of carbon dioxide removal which are ready to put into action, and we can do that, and we should be doing that. There are other methods which we need to research them more and understand them more before we do it. But there are other possibilities out there, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Then solar radiation management, or as the National Academy of Sciences say, albedo modification, is only in a research stage. There's nothing that's ready to be implemented here. Although, as you will see, is that it could be implemented right now, but I don't think we're ready for it. But it might actually happen without anybody in this country wanting it to happen. So one last thing I would like to say is, I've been talking about subjects, especially with solar radiation management, which are not particularly pleasant subjects to think about. What we're talking about is engineering the climate in a way that we hope will have an effect on a good place to live. A lot of people would say we shouldn't engineer the climate. We've tried engineering other things in the past and we've mucked it up, we've made a mess. We should not engineer the planet. I say, okay, that's probably not a bad attitude to have, but we are engineering the planet right now with how much carbon dioxide and methane and nitrous oxide and ozone that we are putting into the atmosphere. It is engineering. That's what we're doing. What we have to start doing is engineering the planet. We have to stop doing the engineering we're doing and engineer the planet in a way that makes it a better place to live rather than a worse place to live.